We're live. Welcome back to Equal Time. I'm here. We're at Minnesota Aurora's second home game ever, and I'm here with my co-host. I'm excited for Liz to get to join in on the party at Aurora. Liz is from Protagonist Soccer. She does podcasts there, does the W League show, and she's one of my co-hosts for Summer League content. Liz, welcome to the party.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be invited to this. I've been jealous that you haven't invited me before. I'm kidding.
The thing is, it's pro. I'm hanging out with pro players now, Liz, and so
I know.
Standards.
I am old news.
It's wild. It's so wild. Danny, who will co-host me, like, we're gonna have this person on, and it's like I don't know every former NWSL player, and I'll Google and be like, "Ooh, they got a nice Wikipedia. Look at this career."
Yeah, that's cool. And in general, like, it's just cool because they know so much, and it's cool to like talk to them and get their experience on that. It's like it's a perspective that I would never be able to add. So don't worry.
Well, and we should say, so Liz covers. She's the director of women's soccer at Protagonist, some sort of authoritative.
Yeah, I'm like in charge of the content, and we're like, it's just me and like one other person, so it can be really short staffed sometimes. But and like I work for a team. So you can't be biased, and I try and create as much content as possible. I have my day job, but so that's kind of what I do, like kind of help drive like what sort of content that we put out at Protagonist.
Yeah, well, and no, that's why we originally connected with Liz, because you have experience working with Cal Storm, which is one of the most established women's teams in the lower divisions. Yeah. And of course, and then now doing W League show, because that's popping off. So you with the new league, so covering that. Talk about but I'm curious to hear from you, because I haven't talked to you, I think just some messages since the first Aurora game. For people who weren't in Minnesota, just like, what did you think when you saw it? Like, you kind of knew it was coming, but what were your reactions? Like, are you as hyped on it as people in Minnesota?
I think it's like, I was hyped for a different reason than community members in the area. I mean, you guys you're pumped because you're like, this is like my community. You feel like a lot of pride in that. I'm super stoked to see that sort of production kind of in the lower league, because I know it's possible. It should be possible. You just need to get people to kind of like put it on, basically. So I was excited to see that, because I know other leagues, other teams are looking at that, and they're saying like, that's the standard. We can be like that too. And it's a small community. It's not like you're not in like a super large metropolitan area. So like other teams can do it.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes it cool, because it's just rising all tides, right? Like, I mean, it's giving local media the knowledge, like, because the TV stations are out, and it's letting them know, hey, this is happening locally. And then of course, if they've seen this, knowing that WPSL is going on, and if it gives teams the option to know if they try, there's a reward, for that. And we honestly, I'll give a shout out, because I've seen there's a couple great WPSL games going on tonight, and it sucks because they're the same time as this. So Salvo is hosting Minnesota Thunder, which are the two, historically two of the best and deepest teams in the WPSL here, and they have really incredible D1 talent, a lot of Gophers, a lot of like Midwest D1 players. And so that game is streamed on, you can go to Salvo's Twitter and see the stream for that on 11, which is awesome. And then Mankato is hosting Manitou FC, which is from White Bear Lake in Minnesota. For that's from Fargo. Liz, they say the girls who are like, oh yeah, they're from White Bear Lake, because it's good for the accent. It's good for the accent. But Mankato's a really good community club. They're one of the few in WPSL here who really put effort into like promoting their players. So I should say, like, even this year, we're seeing a lot more content from teams like that, like especially Salvo and Mankato and like Sioux Falls in our division. So it's cool to see, because it drives people. See in it, it makes sense, because they see that they can be successful when they put some effort in. And so it's been cool. It's been cool. We talk about the Cal Storm season out west. How is that just kicked off recently? How's everything going for you guys?
Yeah, so we had our kickoff event. I think last time I was on, maybe talked about it. We had our kickoff event with like Brandy and like Leslie.
That's Chastain, folks. That's Chastain.
Aaron's a family member. Yeah. so I mean, we're still kind of riding that really like that excitement our community. We did really fabulous last season. So this season we're seeing that but more, which is really awesome. So I mean, we started out, our home game was a tie. Our opening game was a tie away, and then our home opener last Saturday was a win, and then we won the other day. So I mean, we have great energy. I've been pairing with like a cool graphic designer to help increase that. We have a videographer now to create some like more digital video content. So I mean, and we got local press to come in and cover us. Like they've covered us like a couple times. So I mean, in general, it's going really well, and we're really excited for the direction that the community is going.
Nice. Yeah, and once the season actually kicks off, maybe it gets in more of a rhythm for you, because it feels like a lot when you're leading up. Like you need to do a bunch of like announcement stuff. You have to do a lot of promoting and building up.
Yeah, it's super stressful. I remember the show that I couldn't do with you last time when you had the 2 AURORA players was like the day before our home opener, and I was like stressed, and our director and I were trying to go over everything, so I couldn't make it. But it's a lot of work, and it should be. I mean, but it also, as long as you're asking for help from your community and like ask for volunteers, get interns in there, kind of have conversations with business people, companies, organizations in your community, because a lot of them want to give money somewhere meaningful. Get a budget, pay for like an intern or something like that. Like teams can do that and get that help and make the home opener like a big spectacle.
Yeah, no, well, and that's kind of a piece of it I wanted to ask you too, because so like you and I just met online, through soccer things, and then connected to work on covering lower division soccer together. Talk about how like it's not just on the field, because that's the most, we want to watch soccer, we want the players to go pro, that's the most important thing, and see goals and things like that. But we're growing all pieces of the game, like Aurora's especially, and it's an example of how the game's growing. So talk about that, how like I listened to your podcast, the W League show, and it's like you talk to people who are writing content. You're doing it with me. We're pulling in players. Talk about how exciting it is to see like women's soccer media culture growing too.
Yeah.
Because there's only like Meglin, I think always says that. I think there's only 4, full-time women's writers.
Yeah. There's only like 4 who are paid and they're full-time and they're dedicated, and the rest are either like the me's or the people who work for like SB Nation. The little ones where they don't make a lot to live on it. It's a side hustle, or they're not paid. It's voluntary. It's like a passion of the heart. So it's growing, and you do see like a trickle down, because you'll see smaller publications that are smaller than The Athletic, and they're seeing how popular the coverage is from The Athletic, and maybe they'll devote a part-time staff writer, or like someone who's 3/4 or like full-time women's soccer. So it's definitely steady, and I mean, I've been around for a long time. And so the culture has always, I felt like with the media, been very positive, but it was primarily because most media were also like fans. Like they were fans.
And most of them are women, Liz, so it's more positive also.
Yeah, there's a lot of like collaboration, and like I think media like sits next to each other in the press boxes and they become friends that way. There's really no sort of like feeling of competition. It's like collaboration more, like you and I, like I work for Protagonist Soccer, but we're collaborating here. There's no sense of competition. We are operating in the same spaces, but there's no reason why you have to like cut each other out. You get more when you like share each other's platforms and like join in. So it's been cool to see grow, and to see it trickle down to lower league, and to just see that expand as well. And it's just, it takes people like you and and your brother and like me and Dan and Protagonist and like hundreds of so many others who are just super passionate and have skills or interests or hobbies and then want to apply it to this area.
Yeah, and so I have to shout the other 2 people in the press box with me, Bridget McDowell and Matt Johnson, both write about the team. So I'm always promoting their stuff because I got a lot of C's in English class and it's not really quality for me to provide things like that. So I just get and talk on camera and try to get a Hawaiian shirt to make it interesting. So read their stuff because it is so cool to see. And then it's also in mainstream too. Like, I mean, like the Star Tribune and people cover it here, but it's cool because we actually do have a few people who, you know, it's good. We just do it because we want to cover soccer. So it's like, you know, we end up having some beat reporters on this lower division team. It's funny. Yeah. Well, and talk about the W League show, because you've had a couple different players on, and I'm sure it's also it's tough to schedule content like that when it's a season that's like 6 weeks long. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But talk about getting to do that, and people, you can find them on Spotify, you can find other places, but it's a great listen. Just talk about that show and what you've had going on there.
Yeah, so we Protagonist Soccer, we had other podcast shows under our umbrella, but none that were devoted solely to women's soccer. We have, you know, Protagonist Weekly, we have like Sightlines, Under the Lights. Those are like really the only ones that were covering women's soccer really like at all in general. And the guys really did a good job like sharing, you know, covering men's and women's. But like sometimes like with women's it can be a struggle because a lot of the teams weren't like helping create that content with you, because it has to be like we can't just spend 100% of our energy like trying to find a roster or like a starting lineup. Like you have to like create content that we can like highlight more or less. You have to stream your games or at least put it up for replays later. But that's kind of changed for the better the last couple of years. And so, you know, with the bringing in of USLW, USL2 and like League One got bigger. So we kind of expanded into those areas. And so I went and owned the W League. We created a show for it, mirrored it with the USL2 show that we have. And so, I mean, I was like blown away at how receptive it was. Like we announced it and like USL headquarters, USL League, USLW, like individual teams, players, coaches, fans, whatever, embraced it right away. And they were like, we want to be on your show. Like we have, you know, we want our team to be highlighted by you guys. And that's really awesome because that's excitement. And we want to like show that excitement. So right away, people were like already following it. The USLW headquarter like team, the people like who work primarily just for the W, were like, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about how we can collaborate. Lisa, who's like their comms person, they have like a weekly panel, like a pickup, or it's like a pick-up panel where you just kind of choose who you think is gonna win. She invited me and like women kickballs, and then Kayla, who has like a USL show. So like we're on it. I'm losing spectacularly. I don't care. It's a lot of fun.
But you did get picked, Liz. I mean, I don't know. I don't check my email. I mean, I don't think I got picked.
I mean, check your spam. I don't
know. No, Lisa wouldn't go to spam. I met Lisa here. She's great. Shout out to Lisa.
Lisa is really awesome. It's really cool to see USL hire a dedicated staff member who's really passionate, really like available and like accessible, approachable, etc. So in general, it's been a really great project. It was definitely easier. Like we announced it and then for like a January 2022 project and started putting out content monthly. And then, yeah, it's been harder to like, you know, book people during the season because I mean, kind of like Chicago City, like they have like, what was it, 3 or 4 games in 1 week almost? Like they have a lot of, and then the players they need a rest. This is also their summer break. And I will say, like, I love talking to coaches because they're so smart, and like so interesting to kind of like get to know. But I want to like try and diversify it sometimes and like get a player's perspective or something. And they are the ones who are the busiest right now. So I think like right now we're just trying to put out like written content, you know, like recaps of 3+1, kind of like my reflections on my pick'em panels that I always lose, in general. But
well, it's pretty tough in a brand new league, teams you've never watched. Yeah, I don't know.
That was like a good excuse for like the first 2 weeks.
But everyone else is in the same boat though. So
I know. And now like Kayla is like 4 for 4, like, and I don't know, but
well, tell them none of them are picking the Heartland division. They're not coming. They're picking they got to come pick from the Heartland division.
I know.
Games. Yeah.
I don't even remember if we've had too many like where because it's like 4 or 5 matches and like you just choose a winner from that out of like all the games being played that week.
Right.
I don't remember. I feel like Aurora was on there once.
Mhm.
I don't remember, but I don't. Yeah, the other ones aren't usually. But I feel like the conference with the Georgia teams are like that's it every single week. But
And you raise a good point. The W League's doing a really good job making content too, like putting up highlights and stuff like that. And I want to say shout out to the Equal Time supporters because you supporting us on Patreon is definitely what paid for me to be in St. Louis for that game. And one of the highlights was a goal I took on my iPhone 10. So thanks to everybody supporting us because there were no other highlights. And there was another highlight. Did you see this, Liz? One of them from a W League game made SportsCenter top 10, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah. The Tormenta.
Crazy.
So not the player who took it, but one of their players, Elise Holsey, was my first interview. Wait, maybe she was my second interview. But she was my second interview, first player, but incredible. One of the most like friendly organizations. I really loved interacting with them. Really great comms person as well, Bridget. But yeah, so it was cool that they made. I don't know if they know someone or like USL like shot it over.
It was just a good goal, yeah.
Super solid, yeah. I loved how I think it was the account, the USLW account was like, oh, guided in by like a laser, or it was a Tormenta account, and I was like, you just saw Top Gun, didn't you? Like, spoiler alert.
real masculine energy going on.
I know.
Tom Cruise running, absolutely. So we are coming off 2 away wins. Aurora has not won at home yet. They had one, the first game was a tie, obviously, and probably felt like maybe expected goals. If you watch that, probably would have said, we should have won that game. But 2 away wins. The last one in St. Louis, which was like maybe a little tighter than you would have hoped. They were up 3-1, and then that free kick goal, which Taylor Kane had subbed in at goal for Sarah Fuller to kind of give some rotation, and it was honestly a perfect free kick. So she had no chance, but they still got the W. But can you imagine, Liz, I was just thinking today, like how crazy it'll be to see how loud it would be for a win in here. Say they get like 3 goals because it was loud.
It was loud there, or where was it loud?
Here for the home game, like it was loud and there wasn't even really, there's just one goal and then Green Bay. So yeah, I found myself thinking, it's going to be really fun at the end of the game if they can get a win.
Yes. Yep. I think that it's time, and I feel like Chicago's got that long like they have a long week. They're going to be trying to preserve their energy. Today, I feel like Minnesota can really capitalize on that. But I mean, what was that?
Well, Chicago plays. So we play them today. We play them on Sunday at noon, which is really quick because from an evening game to it's 36 hours. And then Chicago plays a game on Wednesday as well. And then Friday again against us, and they're doing a weird thing. They were gonna have 2 separate teams. They have at least a double roster. It's a unique thing going on with them. So they do have a lot of players, but the continuity is a challenge either way because you can't rotate. You can't. I don't know how they're managing that level of squad. Initially the number 75 had come out.
Yeah, so that's actually something that Cal Storm was actually experimenting with this year, where it's kind of like a pool more or less, and like the players who were really performing, you put them for the starting lineup in your or you call them on the game day roster for the senior team, but they're both the same. And then the ones who are like, still deserve that time, you want that time, but you don't think they're ready for the other team, you put them for Cal Storm too. So it's interesting that they're juggling such a huge pool. But I mean, at the same time, also they are not able to build like chemistry with a consistent starting lineup. And I mean, Minnesota has a couple changes here and there. I know Morgan Turner has not played the last couple of days. Maybe she didn't want to travel or couldn't. But really, there's really not been too much rotation. So you've built up a chemistry with that game day roster.
Yeah. No, they definitely have. And actually, I just checked to see if the 11's out, and it is. So Sarah Fuller in the back again. Kenzie Langdock, who's the captain, she's been really consistent at right back. Rachel Preston and Kelsey Kaufusi at center back again. Eli Rapp at left back. Morgan Stone, at a defensive mid a lot, and then Addie Simmons, Sangmin Cha, and Zabilcic playing, and Mariah Wynn on the wing, and then Maya Hansen up top. So yeah, a lot of consistency in the starters. And I will say too, so much youth in this squad. So like Eli is just going into college. Mariah had just been playing D2 and is coming off. Addie is only a sophomore. So it is like and the subs have been young too. So it's been interesting to see the mix. But you can see who the performers are. I mean, by who keeps starting. And we also saw like the subs. We have both rap sisters on the bench too, so we have the potential for the full triplet. I mean, come on, they all play in different spots too, so
I know.
Awesome.
And only like 2 of them play at the same. You have 3 raps, right?
2 are going to Oklahoma, and 1 is going to, I think it's either Florida International or Florida Atlantic. There's too many Floridas, but yeah,
I know, so many. I mean, I love the starting lineup usually. Like I know that there have been a couple changes to it, but like I love it so much. They have so much chemistry. I wrote so many notes about like why I love them so much. And
I will say, like, it's been really cool to see they have a couple of players, like the 2 like South Dakota State players like Rachel Preston and Maya Hansen are playing a lot together. But then like Mariah Wynn is one who she was playing at Bemidji State. She's playing D2. Like, everyone talks about getting big D1 players. She was playing D2 last year. They're a good D2 team, but she was an outside back and she's playing winger, and she was honestly probably the most dangerous player last game. She just kept getting around the corner, kept getting around the edge. And as soon as they kind of figure out how to utilize that, and like those also with Cha was getting a lot of cut through in the line the last couple of games. If they figure out how to connect those, they're going to start scoring the way we think they could. I mean, there's going to be a game where they put up 3 last game. You could see that again for sure.
Yes. And I think this is just like in general, like something that I really love individually, but I'm a big on like an attacking fullback. And I mean, so like some of my favorite teams I felt like Santa Clara, like Jerry Smith, like I'm not gonna say he created it, but like he was like one of the big like users of it like 20 years ago. Let's see who else is doing, like Manchester United and Casey Stoney used to do it really well. But like I love Elizabeth Rapp and how like she joins in the attack. But the most important thing with someone like that is that you need like a center back like Kafusi who can like take in her like the spaces that she like voids, and you need that partnership. There's literally like no eye contact, there's no communication. She just collapses in like and takes up that space without even they like have some sort of like psychic connection, which lets like Rap go up and score or assist or whatnot, or at least just be really challenging to defend. But that's been like one of my favorite things of this whole entire team.
Yeah, I think that could be something that unlocks a little bit more in the offenses, because and you would expect it in the first few games. They want to be solid defensively and make sure they don't give anything up. But then, Kenzie Legdock is really known for going forward for the Gophers. She scored a couple just long range bangers last fall. And so she had that kind of karate kick goal last game, which shout out to Brenna who got that field level like hit, because I had no idea how she scored that. I just saw it go in. And Eli Rapp was doing a really good job getting forward, and she was getting fouled a lot, to be honest, because she's pretty good at the ball, and they were kind of cutting her up for it. So, yeah, we'll see who gets the goals. I think Maya Hansen could definitely be due for some more, and I think Cha has been, for the most part, she delivers really good free kicks and good set pieces, and takes almost all of them. Yeah. And so you just and she does a really good job of getting behind the line for little runs. So you just feel like she's due. You feel like there's something more, either whether it's some assists or a goal or just big plays.
I know I want to like watch her more with the team, because I'm like, I don't know if she's like a false 9 or a 10 or something, but she has great movement. So yeah, I mean, you look at how many you have, like 6 different, almost 5 or 6 different scorers. You got a lot of people that defenders need to like mark. So I mean, it's like a spoil of riches sort of thing. But I mean, I'm definitely watching Win as well. She's been really cool to watch. yeah, and I always am fascinated by the conversion of like a fullback to a winger or vice versa. I mean, I think Kelly O'Hara, Crystal Dunn are like some really big ones who've like done that at the highest level and
Dunn's
did
a
it really
winger. She's
well.
not a full. Dunn's a winger.
I know exactly. I know. Give her a chance. Yeah.
We'll let her
So
rest with her baby. We don't have to talk about it right now, but
I know. But yeah, I really am always fascinated by that conversion.
Also, I would also say one pull. I would say Morgan Turner definitely could be due for. She's on the bench. She didn't play the last 2 games, but there were some little hints of combinations with Maya and with others in the first game. So, you know, especially if it's a game that Aurora has taken a bit of control of, you definitely, I would see maybe Turner coming in and maybe she'll get her first goal for Aurora too. So a little prediction for the DePaul forward.
She had like 5 shots in that first game. So like you could tell she's looking for it. And I also think she wants to prove herself and show that she's like starting material. She wants to challenge Maya for that spot.
Right.
So
people want to do well at home. They've had 2 games away, and they remember what it's like to be in the stadium with 5,000 people. So players want to play. Players want to play the home games.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, Liz. We'll hopefully at halftime you can see behind me a Ravon Tillette scarf. That's the supporters group over in section 121. And so at halftime, I'm hopeful I can go get some content with them, or at the very least maybe post game. And if not, post game, because they'll be at the Black Heart, and I'm sure I'll end up there afterwards. So there's a burlesque show, Liz. We'll see you at the burlesque show tonight at Black Heart.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not me. I'm seeing Jurassic World.
No, I'll FaceTime you in. You in.
I'm gonna like run to the bathroom like a couple times and try and like catch the score. So
yeah, right, from the movie. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Liz. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.